Well, welcome back, everybody. You are here for another episode of the Your Blank What Now podcast. And my name's Marcy Nettles, and I am your host. And you know what? This episode is going to really capture many areas of who you are, from your brain to your heart to your soul. You are going to just be ignited and really just feel, I think, empowered by the message that's going to be shared today, but you're also just going to feel it in your gut when it comes down to a responsibility that each and every one of us has. So we actually have Craig Sawman Sawyer here as our guest today. And he actually grew up New Houston, Texas. He got his tactical start in the U.S. Marine Corps. He quickly transitioned to the U.S. Navy to pursue high-level special operations as a U.S. Navy SEAL, as an operator on the Naval Special Warfare Development Group. Craig gained critical combat experience that is now being utilized to protect those who cannot protect themselves. Because of his experience as a federal criminal investigator, Craig is uniquely qualified to run joint sting operations with law enforcement agencies and allied NGOs. Now, guys, I'm going to give you a quick snapshot of this man's career because it is big and it is bold, okay? So he was decorated for heroic service in Operations Desert Shield and Desert Storm. He's a SEAL sniper instructor. Sorry for that little tongue twist there. He's actually known for teaching the best of the best. He's one of the original 33 federal air marshals that was put in place prior to 9/11. He was selected as an agent in charge of security operation in war zones. He also made a name for himself in the entertainment industry as an expert advisor for television and big screen movies, was interviewed on all major news and morning talk shows, and acting or being in the voice behind Animal Planet's Battleground Rhino Wars, History Channel's Sniper, Deadliest Missions, and Top Guns. He was also in the 2016 movie Army Dog. I remember that movie. I loved that movie. And he co-starred in Gunny Time with R. Lee Ermey. So Sawman is now dedicating his life to raising awareness about the epidemic, it's a true epidemic, of child rape trafficking and rescuing victims and putting predators behind bars. In 2017, he founded V4CR, that's Veterans for Child Rescue, which is comprised of military professionals, former and current law enforcement, civilians, and those who are just willing to do whatever it takes to end child trafficking in America now. They truly keep an eye on what is happening with our children. So I am so excited to be able to welcome Sawman to the show today, to be able to share with you a little bit more about who he is. As a matter of fact, from his own mouth to my ears just a moment ago, he's just claims to be a busted up veteran that's just looking for what he's supposed to do next, what his mission in life is to continue forward. So Craig, thank you so much for being my guest today. I want to thank you for all of the service that you've provided to this country. And now this mission, this movement really that you are spearheading and going after and just rescuing children around this country. Just the heart that you have. So thank you so very much and welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Marcy. I appreciate you inviting me on and look forward to chatting about it, kind of empowering your viewers with the knowledge of some of what I've learned, because knowledge is power. And if you love somebody, you want them empowered. And so, that's why I think there's so much gatekeeping going on and control and fight over what knowledge, what information gets to the people. And I appreciate anybody who's got a heart for the children and is willing to help shine the light on the factual evidence and let people see what's going on so they can best act in their own best interest and look after their children as well. So I'm grateful to be on with you.
Oh, thank you so much. And I know that you've been doing this for several years. When did you first get into working the crimes against children and the sex trafficking?
Yeah, it was 2017 when I founded Veterans for Child Rescue, but it was about 3 years before that I learned about child trafficking inside the United States and how ugly and pervasive it was. And so at first I started reaching out to my contacts in film and television, big producers, and saying, hey, let's expose this, man. I see a covert operation. It's a domestic operations, but it's a huge covert operation, trafficking our children right under our noses here, and the people are unwitting to it. I've been unwitting to it until now, and they're like, "Oh yeah, that's great. That's God's work. Yeah, we should really do that. We'll do something." And then I saw that it was going at a glacial pace, if that, and I became impatient. After about 3 years of trying to push people to do what I had an overwhelming burn to expose, I started trying to crowdfund to bring a documentary to the populace to expose this whole crime spree, and so we could do something about it. And long story short, all the big tech companies were blocking me from crowdfunding to make the documentary. So I ended up having to found a nonprofit organization just to make a documentary to empower the people with the knowledge of this crime spree. And so that's what I did. And in filming that documentary, I started learning, with my former law enforcement background, I spent 5 years as a Fed. We could run joint operations and take predators off the streets and show people what that looks like and how many of them come a running when you put out an ad and just things like that. So we got engaged, and it's been 4 years and we haven't looked back. We're just still building this operation bigger and stronger every day.
That's amazing, because the awareness is always the first key, right? We have
Yes,
to be
ma'am.
aware of what the problem is and what it looks like. And
It really
sometimes
is.
and sometimes it's really ugly and it's hard to see. But without people like you just shining that light on it, it would continue, because this is not just the beginning, is it? It's been going
No,
on for a lot of years.
it has. We show in our documentary film Contraland a science fraud named very heavily in the 40s and 50s to poison our psychological healthcare system, our educational system, and our legal system, to normalize the idea of child rape and ingrain in our culture that that's somehow normal and good, ignoring the fact that the human brain is not fully developed until the age of about 23 to 25 years. So a child can never advocate for themselves against a full-grown predatory adult. They don't have the faculties. They don't have the cognitive tools yet, bless their little hearts. We have to defend them, and it's just common sense that we do. So raping a child is always going to be different than two consenting adults doing whatever any two consenting adults may do, because the child is not an adult and they don't have that ability to consent for themselves. They don't want to be there talking to the surviving victims. Now that tears my heart out. And it's horrible to hear all their stories. It truly is heartbreaking, it's gut-wrenching. They're not okay with it, but they don't know how to stop it, because a full-grown predatory adult, lusty, hairy man is going to figure out how to get whatever he wants out of a child. And even a lot of, there are women that abuse the children too. And it's just something that seems like such a no-brainer cause and situation. Like, can we just give the children a safe and happy childhood? Can we just leave them out of our sex lives, guys, and just let them get to 18, and start their adult lives? Because I don't know about your life, but man, my adult life after 18 has been plenty filled with stress and obstacles and challenges. And it's good. And I think it's the way that it's supposed to be, that children have happy, safe childhoods, and they play and they learn and they're loved and they're secure. And they know they matter.
Yeah.
And then when they hit adulthood, they're ready to engage. They have a strong foundation. They're secure with themselves. And that's the way it's intended to be. That's what we should all work toward. And boy, I take offense when it's any different.
Yeah, I am with you 100%. When a child has this type of thing happen to them in their forming years, right? When they're young teenagers or even younger than that, they learn that they are not valuable, that it doesn't matter what happens to them. And so after you learn something like that, and it's reinforced over and over and over to them, it's difficult for them to see any other way.
Yeah, it's tragic. It takes a lot of therapy and healing to get them back to where they really have always deserved to be, and their understanding of who they are and how they matter. It's tragic. It's tragic.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. And I know that with the work that you're doing, you are so close to it. You see so many of these young victims that have been victimized, whether it's one time or it's over and over and over again. How do you keep that from not affecting you personally?
I tell you what, I meet men and women just about every single day whenever I'm out and dealing with public and going to eat somewhere or spending any time with anybody. When I start to let them know what I do for a living and what I'm dealing with, they open up and confide in me that they were victims too, and people that you would never maybe expect. And it just confirms in me that this is a lot bigger problem than the populace understands, and that so many people keep it quiet due to self-shame and so many other tragic aspects of this. Boys, what are they going to say? There's no good in it for them to tell anybody, or so they think. So they never get any therapy to work through it and heal. They just eat it. They just swallow it and say, well, I'm a boy, and then now I'm a man, and that's not supposed to happen to us, and nobody's going to understand, so I have to just eat it, and it just festers inside them. So, man, I would like to take it from them.
Yeah. Yes.
And get rid of it. But it's a process. I don't have the power to do that for everybody, but I can fight back, and I can expose it and let them know they're not alone. And this is a big thing, and it's an evil thing, and it's not right. It's not supposed to happen, and that they didn't do anything wrong. It's not supposed to happen to them.
Yes, exactly.
So if we all start to embrace that and share the knowledge of how this works and how pervasive it is, and what a dark place it actually comes from, and that there is such a thing as good and evil. And there is an energy from where the inclination originates to do something heinous to a child. Where does that thought even originate? Where does that come from in this universe? I think more people need to slow down and ask themselves the question, why would that even occur to somebody? Scientists can tell you what features a male is attracted to in a woman. Go to any university, you learn it all. Vice versa, for the female to the male. Here's what indicates a strong, healthy mate that'll give you strong, healthy, successful offspring. There's a natural scientific attraction, and then all the chemistry and everything there, psychological. Children don't have any of those features. It's not normal. And it's not okay. It was never designed that way. And we can never allow them to normalize it. So I want to say a couple things real quick before we get too deep into this. Number one, yes, it's an ugly and heinous topic because it really originates from evil, literally and actually does. But the good news is we all have the opportunity to do a little something about it. And it doesn't mean that you have to face off with heinous, evil predators. It may mean just sharing a post on your social media pages, or telling a friend, or sharing the link to Contraland to those that you care about, or to people with a big mouth or a big following or a big office, an official office, some sort of public capacity, so that if they understand the nature of the game, maybe they can be of more help. And so there's a lot that each of us can do. And that's what I want everybody to know, because I don't want them to get repulsed by, okay, it's a dark topic, it's heartbreaking, and it's ugly. Well, yes, it is, but the good news outshines the bad. The light, darkness cannot exist in the presence of light. And if I could speak, it would make more sense. Darkness cannot exist in the presence of light. It never could. That's how things work. So we have the opportunity to shine the light, each of us individually. So that's one thing I want everybody to kind of realize, and that there's opportunity here. Everybody wants to be a hero. We can be heroes. One of mine is Dr. Judith Reisman. She just passed away earlier this year. But boy, you'll see her in Contraland, and you'll see her fight for 50 something years. She fought to expose science fraud, Alfred Kinsey, who was the creator of this avalanche of destruction, this several generations now, we've got an epidemic of child rape, largely due to Alfred Kinsey. And so the mainstream outlets attacked her for making a stand for the children and exposing Kinsey's normalization campaign. They attacked her relentlessly. It was vicious what they did to her, merciless attacks, but her love for the children was greater. She was undeterred. They could not have ever stopped her for standing up for the little ones. Folks, if we're not celebrating Dr. Judith Reisman as an exemplar, as a hero, as a champion for children, we're all wrong. Mm-hmm. There is nobody that I've seen on the face of this planet that deserves more praise and celebration than Dr. Judith Reisman, because she's demonstrated such moral courage in the face of overwhelming hostility and adversity. She might have been 5 foot tall, a petite little woman. What a big champion for children. And she motivates me. She is one of the biggest inspirations for me taking up this fight. And I'm just encouraged to know that before her passing, she was on our board of advisors for Vets for Child Rescue. And I was able to learn through one of the other board members just how much she really valued being part of Vets for Child Rescue and our fight, and how it validated her, and it just really very touching and meaningful to me. So there's a hero. Yeah. So if she can do it, anybody can do it. And I encourage everyone to find your voice, and you can be a hero. Absolutely can. Absolutely can. So there's the encouragement.
I love that. I love that so much, because every single one of us was given a voice for a reason, and it is to stand for good. And our voice individually can only reach so far, but everybody that's listening, and everybody that's listening knows a lot of people. If we can stand for the right things and speak loudly, and this is something that every single one of us should be on board with. There is not one good person that should be against fighting child sex trafficking and rape. Not one. So we're going to give you opportunity to share where people can go and see that, and also follow you and be part of this movement. But, you know, my husband and I, we actually watched Contraland last night again for the second time. And, you know, we both were in tears in part of this, because we have young children and grandchildren. And
what?
Yeah. We have just had our third grandchild born.
Wow. Well, congrats.
So, no, thank you so much. But when you start thinking about what's happening to children, it could happen to any child. And so that's where we have to become vigilant, and we have to become aware. And sometimes even with the greatest awareness, things still happen close to us. And I know that in Contraland, you share your personal story about your daughter, Aspen. Would you mind, please, sharing with the audience how this really came so close to home and how you guys handled it?
Yeah, well, we had decided to found the nonprofit Veterans for Child Rescue, and we'd put in the paperwork for it. And our daughter was, she was suffering from a little bit of depression, and we were just kind of keeping her very close and loving on her at the time. She had just turned 18, and she wanted to go spend the night with some friends. And my wife, Tressa, couldn't sleep because her little baby was out. And if she wasn't in her bedroom, Tressa couldn't sleep. So Tressa was up in the living room, and Aspen called her. And I think she didn't even have the ringer on, but she was on her phone and could see Aspen called. So I didn't hear the phone ring, but I asked my wife, Tressa, walked into the bedroom where I was sleeping and said, Craig, it's Aspen. She's been raped. And I could hear Aspen screaming through the phone. And that's the way that I woke up that night. So, you know, I started trying to get cross streets of where she was, because I'm like, where is she? Because I'm flying out of my bed and Papa's coming to where my baby girl is to make her safe, right?
Right.
And nuke the whole grid square. Who all has to die to make my baby safe, you know? Going full
Full
you know,
gear, total geared
full
up.
combat mode, you know, wake up from a complete deep sleep, you know.
Yeah.
And we you know, she said that she was on her way home, and I was trying to get what street she was on, and she was coming home from the downtown area, so I could ascertain there's one of probably only several streets. And I just said, just give me a cross street, you know, tries to get a cross street for me, because I was on my phone calling the sheriff's department, because I figured they have patrols out and they could probably intervene and make her safe before I could get to wherever she was. That was my thinking, just coming up out of a deep sleep. So I was on the phone with them. I'm like, give me a cross street, Tress. And Tress was trying to get a cross street reference. And Aspen was just, she couldn't. She was, yeah, she's blowing, come to find out later, she was blowing through lights and everything. I'm glad nobody else got hurt, but she was hysterical.
Of course. Of course.
So
And I'm sure
she,
that Dad was as well.
no, well, you know, I'd gone out of bases in similar situations in the middle of the night to go recover other teams where vehicles had gone down, or things that happened in combat and war zones, and you know, bombs have gone off and different things. And I was kind of used to rolling out and doing this. So I felt, you know, oddly calm for the situation, but at the same time, in my subconscious, you know, my conscious was taken over and just solving the problem, methodically working through it like a professional would, like if you were on duty as a law enforcement officer. But, you know, in the back of my mind, there was that's your baby girl. And so the two conflicting, you know, you kind of have to just shut the one off and just work. If you really want her to survive, you're going to just go to work and be effective, and you sort out the emotion later. So that's kind of the state that I was in. So I was calm, but having to block out the screaming subconscious, you know,
Yeah.
if that
Oh,
makes
absolutely.
sense.
Yeah. It makes perfect sense, because you
So
had an objective you had to get done, and that was to make
exactly,
sure your daughter was safe.
an immediate pressing objective, safeguard her,
Yes.
strong point her somewhere by whatever means, ensure that she survives it, and then set about eradicating the threat, you know?
Right.
So that's where I was at. So she made it home before any of the law enforcement could interdict her. We had one sheriff's deputy already at the house by that time. And we brought her into the home and interviewed her just briefly. You know, bruised up, banged up, and psychologically traumatized, and clearly very rattled, but not badly physically injured. So we set about transport to the hospital. Instead of calling an ambulance, we're like, okay, we're going to transport you. And, you know, verified with the sheriff's department what was the best hospital for this situation. He directed us, and we went. Yeah. And it was in that drive that we talked to her about it. There's two ways to go. You can just try to get this behind you, or you can fight back. And they're two radically different approaches. Putting it behind you means if you don't want to deal with it, we just try to forget about it and heal and move on, or you fight back, but fighting back is much more involved. And so you have to understand what that means. And that means going through the rape kit, which means some very invasive interviewing and physical examination, pretty extensive,
Yes.
not fun. But if you want to get him, this is step one to getting him.
Yeah. The gathering of the information, the evidence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
if you don't do this, probably not going to be able to get him. And she, no hesitation. She goes, "Oh, we're going to get him. He can't be allowed to do this. He's done this a lot, apparently, and he can't be allowed to do this anymore." So very strong response from a traumatized young 18-year-old girl. Again, she's barely 5 foot tall. So petite, but heart of a little lioness. Boy, she was traumatized, yet already fixed in her resolve and her anger, her determination that she was going to set about gathering the evidence and bringing the case against this guy and putting an end to his predation. So I couldn't have been more proud. And so we went on and processed it from there. So fast forward later, it took 2.5 years. The judge allowed this guy to go through 14 public defenders and eventually represent himself. He berated our daughter on the witness stand because he was acting as his own attorney, and he was narrating and making up false stories and trying to humiliate her and paint her as things that she isn't and has never been, and paint himself as a saint, which obviously he's not, and all of this. And she handled herself so professionally, and all the expert witnesses and the forensic evidence and the video and everything demonstrated that she was 100% right with every single thing that she had said, just strong. And when it was my turn, when it looked like I was going to be called to the witness stand by the rapist, I asked the prosecutor, I said, "Do I have to behave for this guy? Because I just want to come over the bench at him because I'm a father now. I'm not a law enforcement agent. And I'm here in a capacity that I haven't volunteered for. So the only thing I'm inclined to answer back with is, what on earth, who do you think you're talking to? And what on earth do you think you're doing other than running from me?" And, but I didn't say any of that to the prosecutor. I just said, what are my limits? What is my box of behavior here? Because I'm red line ticked off, and this guy's acting like a complete clown in there. And what is it that I can say and can't say? Because I have a whole long list of things. And, starting off with her, "How dare you?" And she said, "When in doubt, follow your daughter's lead." She said she did that well. She did that good.
Wow. I bet
Now,
that was just about one of your proudest moments.
Yes, ma'am. Look, former federal criminal investigator. I've been trained to, give expert witness on the witness stand. I wasn't that great at it. They told me, "Your anger shows. You need to go watch the video of your testimony again. You need to just be more, matter of fact, because it doesn't work out for you well when you get angry." And, I've done expert witness on capital murder cases in your hometown, by the way. And I understand that. I'm comfortable in that lane, just bringing the forensic evidence, just talking about it and being completely honest. And but this was a different case. And so having the prosecutor say, "When in doubt, follow your daughter's lead." Whoo, she is supposed to be the victim. She was supposed to be the traumatized one that's rattled and all that, but she had performed up here anyway. So was I proud? Yes, ma'am. That's one of my life's most proud moments, if not the proudest moment. So,
well, she had a target and she kept her
Yeah.
eye on it.
Yeah.
So she knew that she had to do things the right way so that she could stop this predator.
Yeah.
Wow.
An exceptional resolve and a focus through it. Now, here's the hardest part of that trial for me. When we first sat down, I don't know if you're familiar with the little squeeze toys that some of the people have, and when they're sitting in a trial. So the prosecutor gave my daughter, my wife, she goes, "You might even want one." And they're like little toys that look like every which kind of thing, but they're foam.
Mm-hmm.
And if you squeeze it, it's something that you could do without getting agitated and angry and speaking or anything like that. Just something that they found is helpful in maintaining your composure. Well, my wife nudged me, and my wife was sitting over on my right, and my daughter was sitting right next to me on my left. My wife nudges me, and she looks down just like that, like looking towards Aspen's knees. And I looked down, and although Aspen was stoic from the waist up and just perfectly professional and still, her little knees were going like this.
Oh. Sweet girl.
That broke my heart.
Mm-hmm.
I struggled for a minute. I swallowed about 5 times and looked around like, what am I going to do? Because she doesn't deserve any of this. But she's here to take him down, and she needs me to be steady. So that's what caused me to go, okay, I'll show no emotion and I'll say nothing. But her little knees shaking and her still from the waist up and just completely dead set in her resolve. I was like, there's something very strong in that girl. Very strong. I'd like to take credit for it, but I can't. I didn't do that. I didn't give her that. Give her a lot of love, encouragement. I taught her, a lot of things, but I didn't, you can't teach that.
But what you did do is you gave her that foundation that you were talking about that every single child deserves. And it was that surety that you gave her with that foundation that gave her the strength to be able to sit there that way and to be able to do what she did. So amazing. It's amazing. And I can see even to this day how emotional this gets you. I mean, because that was only 4 years ago.
Well, yeah, the trial took 2.5 years. So the trial was more like 18 months ago.
Right.
So, yeah.
Right. So on Contraland, she was actually in that movie. And that was really, really impressive.
There's another thing that she did very, very well. She wanted to fight back, and she approached several people around me, my wife included, and expressing her desire to be part of our operations. And we do joint operations with federal and local law enforcement, anywhere from usually 5 agencies to 9 agencies involved in some of these operations. And so sometimes we use junior decoy agents, people that are over 18, but that look much younger. And there's a lot of different things that we do. So she said, I could serve in that capacity if you're going to need that in this next operation or two. And I was like, nope. You're not getting around a bad guy ever again. That's not for you. That's for other people. And she's like, well, you use other young ladies, and are they better than me? Because she's a good little actress. She's taught herself other languages and all kinds of things that she's just very private. She'll come out of her room, or we'll go to a play that she's in, and she's doing stuff, speaking German. And we're like, we never, like, she's on stage and she's an old German woman. And we're like, what? Like, so she's full of surprises like that. So she's very capable. And she goes, are they smarter than me? Are they better than me? I'm like, no, but you're my baby girl. And so you're not going around bad people, and, anyway, my team, all the different members of my team, my own wife said, hey, you should really let her do it. And, her counselor is the one that really brought it up first. Like, hey, this would really be healing for her to fight back. So anyway, long story short, she did. And I think I want to say it was 9 predators that we got all said and done from that operation. And boy, she was just good. I mean, she got in there and did her part. And it was cool. She would curl up on the sofa. I think I got a picture handy. There was one of the sheriff's department's full tactical gear sitting against the sofa, and between runs, she had taken a nap. So she was curled up on the sofa, just like a little baby girl taking a nap, but what a contrast between the law enforcement full tactical gear and body armor with the mags in it, and the sheriff's badge and all the tactical stuff right there next to her. She's all snuggled up like a little baby. But I thought, there's a contrast for you,
Yeah.
But she was helping take down bad guys, and she did it very professionally, very bravely. And every single bad guy that came, we prosecuted. So 100% conviction rate. So she was effective at what she was doing. And she would stand in front of them and just kind of just take satisfaction in watching them change, the metamorphosis when they realized they were no longer there as the predator. Now they were the prisoner. And that realization would come, sometimes they would pass out and fall to the ground, or they would try to run, and the SWAT team would stick the canine unit on them. And there's just different scenarios of how they would respond once they knew that they weren't going home. And she would just really take satisfaction and healing in that. She would walk sometimes right up to them and look them right in the face, a couple paces away, just notice what was happening to them. And she would come back, she would come away and go, all right then. And so she told me, she said, Papa, that was more healing than any therapy could probably ever be, as just being able to fight back, do something back, and take these off the street, help be a part of putting them in prison where they can rape no more. And I'm like, you know what? I wish that for all victims. I would love for them all to have that opportunity. But since they can't all, at least we captured some of it in Contraland, and maybe they can take some satisfaction by proxy, by watching her, and take a little satisfaction in knowing there are people fighting back. There's a family fighting back.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing that you mentioned already in this episode, is that every single person can have a part to play in this.
Yes.
And so even though she had the beautiful opportunity, even though it was from something that was not beautiful, taking that predator, turning them into a prisoner, turned her from victim into a victor, right? But watching her do that, but then anyone that is in her position, that has been victimized, that has been on that end of being raped, they can have that opportunity of finding out what they can do. Just like you said, if they're on social media, share your posts.
Yeah.
Get loud around this, right?
Yeah.
To help other people. And that's a way that they too can take back their personal power.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah. I mean, the normalization campaign is being pushed by predators. And I say the normalization campaign, I mean the normalization of child rape. And it's not child sex, it's rape for reasons we've already articulated. A full-grown adult having sex with a child is rape, and it's legally rape, it's morally rape, and it's legally rape for a reason, for very good reason. Mm-hmm. And so predators are always looking to lower that age of consent, and predators are always looking to pervert and what's the word I'm looking for right now? To kind of poison the children's mind to defile them. That's the word I was searching for. To defile them at a younger and younger age, to put in their minds things about sex that a small child has no business worrying about or knowing yet. And they can't get it out of their mind. Once they're aware of it, it's there, but it taints them, and it's destructive, it's harmful, it's not a good thing. And I know, because I talk to them in their adulthood, and they can relay back, the trauma and the effect that it had on how they perceived literally everything after that, harmful and damaging. And so the predators are pushing this, and they're aggressive. And so now you see parents standing up in school boards and going, no, you're not going to do this to our children. We're not okay with this. You don't get to bully we the people and say, we're going to pervert your children in kindergarten now and teach them all manner of perversion that they have no business worried about for many, many years to come. right? Because it's intended to make them easy victims.
Yes, it's normalizing the wrong.
It's normalizing the wrong and conditioning them, and
Yes.
it's grooming them to be easy little victims of child rape. And we have to recognize what it is. That's the game that's being played. And so that's why Alfred Kinsey gets so much funding, and the Kinsey Institute. There's funding from all over God's green earth, multi-million-dollar grants and donations, and they're covering up that Alfred Kinsey was a sadomasochistic pedophile. That was his description of himself. And I'm sorry if this is too crude for your podcast, but his own genitals were mutilated according to what he preferred sexually. So very sick mind.
Yes.
When you're destroying your own body, something's not right. That's not a healthy activity to engage in. Whatever causes that, I don't know. But he was a very, very sick man. He needed help. He didn't need to set about falsified science that we push on other innocent victims and create millions of innocent victims, a cascading avalanche of destruction since his time that we have to counter. So what I'm trying to be is the counter Kinsey. That's really what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to pick up the ball with Dr. Judith Reisman and augment her and stand next to her and fight next to her. And it tears my heart out that she's passed away so unexpectedly and so soon. She was so full of life and so full of energy and spark. But you know, like my wife says, what better advocate could you have? What better lobbyist could you have in heaven than her, right? And my parents now and so many others. And I just want them to be proud, and I want to fight and make as big a genuine difference as I can in our culture so that we begin defending the children again, instead of allowing this normalization and being tolerant of this predation and abuse of the children. It's not okay to be tolerant of that. It's not good to be tolerant of that which is harmful. I said that in Contraland, and I'm glad they left that in there because it's very important. We're bullied to be tolerant. But a lot of what we're being bullied to be tolerant of is that which is harmful to us and destructive of our children. And there are some things that we should not ever be tolerant of. There's such a thing as righteous indignation and standing up and saying, nope, that's bad. We're not going to stand for that. So I'm encouraged by people that are standing up and saying, nope, this road don't go that far.
Exactly. There will be a forever roadblock here.
Yes,
it's
ma'am.
not happening. Oh, I love that. That is absolutely perfect. So a lot of this has to do with helping people become more aware. So what is one thing that you would encourage people to do first to become aware of what child sex trafficking looks like, what a rape condition could look like? What's something that you would tell people that's simple enough that they could actually just think about it now and do
Okay. Well, one easy thing, we spent 3 years filming Contraland to kind of give them about a 90-minute snapshot of the problem. And that's very empowering. And that's on contralandmovie.com, and it's free. It's a public service alert. And you can watch that 24 hours a day. It's in high res and great audio and everything. So watch it on a big screen if you can. And it's going up on, it's up on Amazon Prime Video right now. They're just waiting to the final checks before it goes live there.
Awesome.
So that's one thing. And then our website, vetsforchildrescue.org, is another one-stop shop that's got a wealth of information to show you the tools to safeguard your child and some of the harmful apps that are on your child's phone that a lot of children are unwitting to. They're playing games on or using TikTok and apps like that are owned by the Chinese, a hostile foreign nation state. They're unscrupulous. And a lot of these apps, unknown to the children and the parents, do surreptitious facial recognition, snapshots, photographs of the face, and surreptitious video. And the green light's not on the camera, so the child doesn't know that the app has that covert function or geolocation. that's tracking their location anywhere they go. So if they're at home or they're in the yard or at the park or on the school bus, the predators can track them. Man, we have to know about these things. And so there's a list of problematic apps on our website and a bunch of other tools. So, the phones, the smart devices, please get into you said right now, yeah, what parents can do, go to the website, learn about the hostile apps, and then get into your child's smart devices, their Xboxes, their phones, their iPads, their computers, and find out who they're dealing with. Because sometimes they think they're dealing with another child, but it's not a child. It's a full-grown predatory adult deceiving your child to think that they're playing with another child. It's a trick. Your child's getting set up to be conked over the head, thrown in the back of a creepy rape van, and never to be seen or heard from again, God forbid. And so knowledge is power. If we know how to keep them safe, we can prevent these kinds of scenarios. So we have to invade their privacy enough to make sure they're okay. We want to give them their privacy to some degree when they get a little older, but not so much to where they're easy victims. So somewhere there's a happy balance, perfect balance.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you 100%. And, for you parents that are there that you're thinking, or even if you're an aunt or uncle of a younger child, or even they don't even have to be young, right? I mean, your daughter was 18 when this happened. For those parents that are listening, or if you know someone that's of that age that you care about, please do not fall into the trap of thinking, oh, that couldn't happen to my child, because it absolutely could happen to your child if you don't take the necessary steps to make sure that they're safe. And sometimes our kids don't like that. We have to be willing to be the parent and not the friend to make sure our kids are safe.
Yeah. Look, criminal syndicates are growing right now in the United States. We've got people coming into our country in floods, and people who are diseased, people are criminals, people from all over, from Africa, from Haiti, from South America, from the Middle East, you name it, illegally. And so it's a kind of situation where the crime is on a huge spike. And so criminals are emboldened in a time like this, when law enforcement is being demonized and defunded, and criminals are flooding in and emboldened and doing whatever they want. So crime is on the rise. So they're after your children now like never before. This is probably the worst time in the history of the United States for children as far as their security. So do watch after them. Don't steal their childhood and terrorize them, but make them aware to where they realize that there's a threat and they need to make certain basic precautions and safeguard them, so that again, like, we can get them to 18 so they can at least start their adulthood intact. You know what I mean? So
yeah, absolutely. Well, I think that you're doing a beautiful job continuing the legacy of Judith. I think that she's looking down and she's got a great big smile, but I think she's also got great big expectations. And so I think that we've all got to jump on this movement with you and be able to help. So where can people follow you? I know that you do great stuff on LinkedIn. I see it all the time. Love that. Are you on other social media platforms as well?
Yeah, if you go, Veterans for Child Rescue is on just about any social media platform. And in fact, we're just bringing on a new service really strong, and activating that today. So they'll get plugged in over the next few days and start interacting. But Veterans for Child Rescue, just about any platform. And Craig Sawman Sawyer, you can type in a lot of places and find me as well separately. And although I'll still be promoting Vets for Child Rescue, but I also talk about my tactical training and what I think, national security issues and things like that. So
I love it. Such great information. Such great information. Well, I appreciate you so very much taking this time. I know that you are such a busy man and you've got a lot pulling you in many different Directions. All good stuff. Thank the Lord. So many great things going for you right now. But I just want to thank you again. Thank you so much for all of the good that you are doing in this world. Thank you for your time with us here today on this episode of the Your Blank What Now podcast. And I look forward to seeing how we can work together and just further this mission, spreading the good word of children are not for sale, children are not for sex, and children are not for your pleasure. Okay. I completely appreciate everything that you're doing. Thank you so much for being my guest.
And thank you. It's been a pleasure. I've enjoyed the chat. So
wonderful. Thank you so much. And this will be a goodbye for now, guys. I look forward to the next episode that you'll be joining us on for the Your Blank What Now podcast. This is Marcy Nettles, and I'm your host. Have a great day.